Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to Fort Knox's monthly retirement ceremony hosted by the 100th Training Division. The host for today's ceremony is the Deputy Commander, 100th Training Division, Colonel Joseph Adamson. Your co-host is the Command Sergeant Major, 100th Training Division, Command Sergeant Major Sherry Turner. Please stand for the playing of our national anthem and remain standing for the invocation by Chaplain Daniel Hurd. Please be seated. In addition to the
When observing an honor guard during the folding of the flag, you may notice how the meticulous process results in the flag being folded 13 times. You may have thought this symbolized the original 13 colonies. However, each step has a separate and very distinct meaning. The first fold of our flag is a symbol of life. The second fold represents the 50 states of the United States of America. The third fold is made in honor and remembrance of the veterans departing our ranks who gave a portion of their lives for the defense of our country to attain peace throughout the world. The fourth fold represents loyalty. These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will in crisis shrink from the service of their country, but he that stands it now deserves the love and thanks of men and women. Thomas Paine. The fifth fold is a tribute to our country, for in the words of Stephen Decatur, our country, in dealing with other countries, may she always be right, but it is still our country, right or wrong. The sixth fold is for where our hearts lie. It is with our heart that we pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The seventh fold is a tribute to our armed forces, for it is through the armed forces that we protect our country and our flag against all her enemies, whether they be found within or without the boundaries of our republic. The eighth fold is a tribute to selfless service. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. John Fitzgerald Kennedy. The ninth fold is a tribute to womanhood, for it has been through their faith, their love, loyalty, and devotion that the character of the men and women who have made this country great has been molded. The 10th fold is a tribute to the Father, for He too has given His sons and daughters for the defense of our country since they were first born. The 11th fold is inscribed on the Statue of Liberty. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. The 12th fold represents equality. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The 13th and final fold, or when the flag is completely folded, the stars are uppermost, reminding us of our nation's motto, "In God we trust." After the flag is completely folded and tucked in, it takes on the appearance of a cocked hat, ever reminding us of the soldiers who served under General George Washington and the sailors and Marines who served under Captain John Paul Jones, who were followed by their comrades and shipmates in the armed forces of the United States, preserving for us the rights, privileges, and freedoms we enjoy today. Retirees, please stand. On behalf of the President of the United States Army, and a grateful nation, please accept this flag as a symbol of our appreciation for your many years of honorable and faithful service.
Retirees, please be seated. Today, we pay special tribute to 9 soldiers upon their retirements. The retirement ceremony is a time-honored tradition. In days gone by, when a soldier retired, their entire regiment turned out to honor them with a farewell review. Fort Knox continues many of these customs today. During today's ceremony, each retiree will receive several items, including a certificate from the Commander-in-Chief that reads, "I extend my personal gratitude and a sincere appreciation of a grateful nation to you for your patriotic service to our country. Your bravery and dedication in our armed forces helped protect your fellow Americans during a critical moment in our history and contributed to a world of greater security and growing prosperity. Your devotion to duty, honor, and country, in keeping with the long traditions of the finest military in the world, embodied the American ideal of selfless service. Our nation owes you an incredible debt. Your commitment and the example you set will inspire future generations to serve with pride and keep our country secure. You represent the best of our nation, and I join our fellow Americans in saluting your honorable service. I wish you happiness and success in your next chapter. Signed, Joseph R. Biden, Jr., Commander-in-Chief." Would Colonel Adamson and Command Sergeant Major Turner please come forward? Headquarters, Department of the Army Special Orders, by order of the Chief of Staff, United States Army, General James C. McConville, the following personnel of the Department of the Army are retired. Major Jeanette Dessous retires after 35 years of service. At the time of her retirement, she served as a Human Resources Officer, Headquarters, United States Army Human Resources Command, Fort Knox, Kentucky. Major Dessous will receive the Meritorious Service Medal, United States flag, a certificate of retirement from the Chief of Staff of the Army, and a Fort Knox coin for her 35 years of faithful service to the nation and the United States Army. After retirement, Major Dessous and her family will make their home in Louisville, Kentucky. Our nation proudly salutes Major Jeanette Dessous, U.S. Army, retired. Captain Benjamin Rogers retires after 21 years of service. At the time of his retirement, he served as a G-35 Future Operations Intelligence Planner, Headquarters, 5th Corps, Fort Knox, Kentucky. Captain Rogers will receive the Meritorious Service Medal, a United States flag, a certificate of retirement from the Chief of Staff of the Army, and a Fort Knox coin for his 21 years of faithful service to the nation and the United States Army. Mrs. Jamie Rogers receives a certificate of appreciation and a yellow rose. Her generous, loyal, and dedicated service made possible her husband's lasting contribution to the nation. After retirement, Captain Rogers, his wife Jamie, and their family will make their home in Jacksonville, Florida. Our nation proudly salutes Captain Benjamin Rogers, U.S. Army, retired. Chief Warrant Officer 4 Lewis Eckel, Jr. retires after 26 years of service. At the time of his retirement, he served as the Division Chief, 83rd United States Army Reserve Readiness Training Center, Fort Knox, Kentucky. Chief Warrant Officer 4 Eckel will receive the Legion of Merit, a United States flag, a certificate of retirement from the Chief of Staff of the United States Army, and a Fort Knox coin for his 24 years of faithful service to the nation and the United States Army. Mrs. Amber Eckel receives a certificate of appreciation and a yellow rose. Her generous, loyal, and dedicated service made possible her husband's lasting contribution to the nation. After retirement, Chief Warrant Officer 4 Eckel, his wife Amber, and their family will make their home in Soldotna, Alaska. Our nation proudly salutes Chief Warrant Officer 4 Lewis Eckel, Jr., U.S. Army, retired. Command Sergeant Major Michael Lampkins retires after 30 years of service. At the time of his retirement, he served as the G3 Operations Sergeant Major, Headquarters, 5th Corps, Fort Knox, Kentucky. Command Sergeant Major Lampkins has been recommended for the Defense Meritorious Service Medal. He will receive a United States flag, a certificate of retirement from the Chief of Staff of the Army, and a Fort Knox coin for his 30 years of faithful service to the nation and the United States Army. After retirement, Command Sergeant Major Lampkins and his family will make their home in Corydon, Indiana. Our nation proudly salutes Command Sergeant Major Michael Lampkins, U.S. Army, retired. Command Sergeant Major Joseph Nicholson, Sr. retires after 30 years of service. At the time of his retirement, he served as the G3 Sergeant Major, Headquarters, United States Army Cadet Command, Fort Knox, Kentucky. Command Sergeant Major Nicholson will receive the Meritorious Service Medal, a United States flag, a certificate of retirement from the Chief of Staff of the Army, and a Fort Knox coin for his 30 years of faithful service to the nation and the United States Army. Mrs. Arlene Nicholson receives a certificate of appreciation and a yellow rose. Her generous, loyal, and dedicated service made possible her husband's lasting contribution to the nation. After retirement, Command Sergeant Major Nicholson, his wife Arlene, and their family will make their home in Akron, Kentucky. Our nation proudly salutes Command Sergeant Major Joseph Nicholson Sr., U.S. Army, retired. Master Sergeant Brian Breaker retires after 36 years of service. At the time of his retirement, he served as the Operations Non-Commissioned Officer in Charge, 4th Cavalry Multifunctional Training Brigade, Fort Knox, Kentucky. Master Sergeant Breaker will receive the Meritorious Service Medal, a United States flag, a certificate of retirement from the Chief of Staff of the Army, and a Fort Knox coin for his 36 years of faithful service to the nation and the United States Army. Mrs. Catherine Breaker receives a certificate of appreciation and a yellow rose. Her generous, loyal, and dedicated service made possible her husband's lasting contribution to the nation. After retirement, Master Sergeant Breaker and his wife Catherine will make their home in Marysville, Michigan. Our nation proudly salutes Master Sergeant Brian Breaker, U.S. Army, retired. Sergeant First Class Joshua Basinger retires after 20 years of service. At the time of his retirement, he served as the Assistant Commandant, Secretary General Staff, Headquarters, 5th Corps, Fort Knox, Kentucky. Sergeant First Class Basinger will receive the Meritorious Service Medal, a United States flag, a certificate of retirement from the Chief of Staff of the Army, and a Fort Knox coin for his 20 years of faithful service to the nation and the United States Army. After retirement, Sergeant First Class Basinger and his family will make their home in McLeod, Oklahoma. Our nation proudly salutes Sergeant First Class Joshua Basinger, U.S. Army, retired. Sergeant First Class Jose Vasquez, Jr. retires after 20 years of service. At the time of his retirement, he served as the Executive Assistant to the Chief of Staff, Headquarters, United States Army Cadet Command, Fort Knox, Kentucky. Sergeant First Class Vasquez will receive the Meritorious Service Medal, a United States flag, a certificate of retirement from the Chief of Staff of the Army, and a Fort Knox coin for his 20 years of faithful service to the nation and the United States Army. Mrs. Rebecca Vasquez receives a certificate of appreciation and a yellow rose. Her generous, loyal, and dedicated service made possible her husband's lasting contribution to the nation. After retirement, Sergeant First Class Vasquez, his wife Rebecca, and their family will make their home in Vine Grove, Kentucky. Our nation proudly salutes Sergeant First Class Jose Vasquez, Jr., U.S. Army, retired. Sergeant First Class Scott Hardenstein retires after 20 years of service. At the time of his retirement, he served as a healthcare non-commissioned officer, Ireland Army Health Clinic, Fort Knox, Kentucky. Sergeant First Class Hardenstein will receive the Meritorious Service Medal, a United States flag, a certificate of retirement from the Chief of Staff of the Army, and a Fort Knox coin for his 20 years of faithful service to the nation and the United States Army. Mrs. Tiffany Hardenstein receives a certificate of appreciation and a yellow rose. Her generous, loyal, and dedicated service made possible her husband's lasting contribution to the nation. After retirement, Sergeant First Class Hardenstein, his wife Tiffany, and their family will make their home in Vine Grove, Kentucky. Our nation proudly salutes Sergeant First Class Scott Hardenstein, U.S. Army, retired. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce today's guest speaker, the Deputy Commander, 100 Training Division, Colonel Joseph Adamson.
Kind of went from that side to this side. What a great transition. So families, loved ones, friends, and in front of us, we count 9 soldiers who are retiring. Keep that number in mind for a second because we might do some math. In order to retire from the Army, you need to complete 20 years of creditable service. If you multiply 9 by 20, you come up with 180. That's a lot of years of military service just to retire. But in front of us, we see more than 180 years. I added it up, and it's 238 years of combined service. So earlier I used the word count. Not only can we count 9 soldiers, but we count 238 years of service among these soldiers. We're also looking at 9 soldiers, each of whom counted, each of whom made every year count. They made every month count, every week and every day count. Behind them are families and loved ones who stood up and were also counted. They endured anniversaries, birthdays, holidays, first communions, and the like for life events where their soldier was somewhere performing duty. Do me a favor, show our appreciation to the family and the loved ones. I see some recruiting patches in the audience, and I'm sure some of you can appreciate this. It's getting a little harder to find those tough enough to serve for 10 years, 7 years, or even 4 years nowadays. But soldiers, as you transition to soldier for life, please tell your Army story. Inspire those you touch to serve this great nation of ours. President Kennedy once said, as we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. And thank you for that. The women and men in front of us rose for reveille. They saluted Old Glory. They probably had to do a little dress along the way. They picked up a ruck, they deployed, they supported those who deployed. They left their families and their loved ones behind as they did it. While doing it, they took care of their soldiers, they led soldiers, they took care of their buddies, and they inspired all of us here to show up for their retirement and show them how much they count, not in our lives, but also the lives of every American for their service. Please join me in giving them a standing ovation. So I got 2 out of 3. I was brief, and now I'll be gone.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated for the playing of Old Soldiers Never Die and Auld Lang Syne. At this time, Command Sergeant Major Turner will conduct a final roll call.
Major Jeanette Dessou. Captain Benjamin Rogers. Chief Warrant Officer for Lewis Eckel, Jr. Command Sergeant Major Michael Lampkins. Command Sergeant Major Joseph Nicholson, Sr. Master Sergeant Brian Breaker.
Yes, Sergeant Major.
Sergeant First Class Joseph Basinger.
Yes, Sergeant Major.
Sergeant First Class Jose Vasquez, Jr.
Yes, Sergeant Major.
Sergeant First Class Scott Hardenstein.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the playing of the Army Song. The words are printed on the last page of your program. We invite you to sing along. Would Colonel Adamson and Command Sergeant Major Turner please come forward and lead our guests through the receiving line? Our guests should make a line in the aisle to your left, go through the receiving line, and exit in the aisle to your right. Fort Knox would like to send a special thanks for today's attendees and those watching the live stream. This concludes today's ceremony. Please enjoy the rest of your day.